Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys just watch random movies through the use of the almighty algorithm and then talk about them, because the one thing the earth needs is two more white guys with a podcast. And with me, as always, is the Javier Bardem to my Josh Brolin, I guess, or are you the Tommy Lee Jones? Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn. How are you? And we are No Country for Old Men with my resident old man.
And this podcast is brought to you by Nucci Bags, because we are the knockoff of podcasts, of movie podcasts. No, I'm doing good. I am old.
We are
and
the
crotchety.
multi-meal of podcasts.
We're here to talk about sadness and death and cancer and all those bright topics.
And counterfeiting and knockoffs.
And counterfeit knockoffs and I see dead people.
Yes.
So if that didn't give you enough clues, we're talking about the 2010 Spanish film Biutiful, starring Javier Bardem, directed by Alejandro G. Iñárritu.
Yes, and if that name sounds familiar, it's the Birdman guy and the Revenant guy.
Yes. And before that, he did movies that I think people heard about, but not a lot of people watched, like 21 Grams and Babel. And so he's had a career.
Yeah.
This movie, 2010, I looked up a few things. It looks like it had a $35 million budget and made $5 million in the States and about $25 million worldwide. So it didn't do so well. However, it went on to get nominated for 2 Oscars in the 2011 Oscars. Javier Bardem was nominated for Best Actor and it was the first entirely Spanish language part to ever be nominated for Best Actor.
That's cool. I mean, definitely well-deserved.
He lost to a Spanish speaker, lost to someone who couldn't speak very well, Colin Firth in The King's Speech.
Nice.
And then it was also nominated for Best Foreign Language Film, but it lost to In a Better World from Denmark, which I don't even remember that movie, but I remember Biutiful from when it came out, but In a Better World, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it either.
The only other real things I could find about this movie is that Iñárritu wrote this movie. He wrote a story and then he wrote the movie. And when he was writing the movie, he actually wrote it with Javier Bardem in mind. He said that's the only person he could picture playing this role. So, well, he must have had something there, because he ended up being up for Best Actor.
Yeah, I like Javier Bardem whenever he shows up in anything. I mean, we joked about No Country for Old Men, which didn't he win Best Supporting Actor for that one?
He might have, for Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, he was at least nominated.
A bad idea, friendo. Yeah, he's great. I liked him in Skyfall as well.
Oh yeah, he was great as the villain in Skyfall.
So, how about you give us the old snowball pitch, if you will.
The old snowball pitch. All right. So this is about a career petty criminal who works with like bootleg merchandise, finds out he's dying of prostate cancer, and he's worried about who's going to take care of his family after he's gone, because his wife is very irresponsible and I think bipolar. Yeah,
she's an alcoholic and bipolar. So they're separated, and then, she comes back into the picture. He's a petty criminal, but like, you're okay following him because he actually cares. Like, the reason he's a criminal is he's getting work for illegal immigrants because he just cares about everybody and wants everyone to work and earn a living. And so he's, it's illegal stuff, but I mean, it's, he's got like the best intentions. He's just trying to help people. So,
and he really does care about his kids.
He does. And that really does show in this film. Above all else, I will say that I can see why he was nominated for Best Actor. He was genuinely good in this, and there was a couple of scenes that were really great. The one scene in the bathroom when his daughter finally realized that he was sick and dying was a very touching scene.
Yeah, I thought he definitely did very well with the kids, because that can be hard to do. You definitely did feel like this is a guy who is a dad and is just trying to do his best when it feels like the world is against him. But also, this seems like a lot of walking around and talking to people movie. You walk somewhere, you talk to people, you walk somewhere else, talk to people, then occasionally stuff happens.
Yeah, and I think my biggest problem with the movie is that it didn't have a lot of focus. There were aspects of the movie that just kind of seemed like they would just come and go whenever they pleased, and it didn't have a huge as much of an impact as I think it was supposed to. Like the whole fact that like he's also this guy who has like this connection to the dead, and so people pay him to go in to the funeral home and see their, there's one guy who says, go in to see my dead son, and what does he say, and come out and tell me or whatever. And it seems like that's going to be a bigger point to the movie, but like it kind of plays out in the end, but it's very ambiguous at the end. So it didn't feel like it was something that really needed to be in here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Like, I mean, just kind of pick one if that's what he did, and then sort of get seduced into life of crime over the course of the film to take care of his kids. Or I just kind of like pick one or the other. I mean, it'd be different if like say he was a complete fraud, but it seems kind of genuine.
Yeah, it feels like he really does have this connection to the dead. But like my problem with it is that it's just like, well, this movie is more about him learning that he's going to die. And, he initially goes with, I don't even know if he initially goes with chemotherapy, or if right away he says, no, I'm going to die on my own terms. And that's what this movie is about
Mm-hmm.
is even knowing you're going to die and you only have a few months, dying on your own terms, and just, and doing the best you can to take care of the people you love before you go. And I think that if Inarritu would have just focused on that and shortened the movie just a little bit and kind of taken out of the death stuff, because I don't know if was what led to the final scene of the movie is him finally dying. Spoilers. But then he's reunited with his father in like this snowy forest, and that's another really nice scene. I kind of liked the way it ended on that scene of him getting
Mm-hmm.
to see his father, who died when he was little and didn't remember him real well. But I think you could have still had that reunited scene without trying to dive into the I see dead people stuff, because I think it still would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they had all of the illegal immigrant and the crime stuff too, whereas like that was a whole storyline going on. Because another thing that this movie dealt with, is when he knows he's dying, he wants some sort of redemption or forgiveness for the bad things he's done, and a couple of those things are, one person he worked with, he got uh, ended up getting deported, so he helped his wife, and then a
Like
bunch
he
of
tries to help the immigrants that all kind of live in this shared space, like kind of this sweat lodge or sweatshop, not sweat lodge, a
yeah.
sweatshop, and he tries to get them kind of like these gas powered lights or like heaters to try and keep them warmer when it gets cold out. But that unfortunately kind of backfires, and they all die of like carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide poisoning or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, carbon monoxide, I think. And then he's got the guilt of, because there is the scene where he goes to buy those heat lamps, and he goes for the most bargain basement ones to, save his own money, and then he feels that guilt of going, I knew that I gave them a crappy product, and like, and they're all dead because of me. Like, and he's got this like just weight on his shoulders from, because there were, like 25 people that died, and some of them were women and children,
Mm-hmm.
and and all he wanted to do was help them, and they're dead partly because he wanted to save a couple bucks and buy a cheaper thing, which isn't necessarily his fault, but you understand where his guilt is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it feels like it is.
so he's got that weighing down on him, this like the whole rest of the movie too. I don't know who this B person was, or Bia, that he kept going to see.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss something? Like, was there a part I just missed?
I don't know. I might have missed part of it too, so it also puzzled me.
Yeah, because he keeps going to this person who's like to ask for advice, and she's the one who says, "Don't go with the chemotherapy, and here's a couple of rocks to give to your kids before you
Mm-hmm.
die." And I was like, "Okay, here's a couple of rocks." That
I
wasn't. I don't know if there was something there that I don't know. Like, this is set in Barcelona. is there some sort of tradition there or something I don't know about?
Yeah, that
Like,
might be just like a cultural thing we missed.
yeah, and that could very well be, but I was like, I don't know who this lady is to this story and why the rocks. Like, because there was the scene towards the end where he gives the rocks to his two kids because he knows he's going to die soon. Well, I thought two of the other scenes with his daughter were much better and much more like just emotionally gripping. The one scene where, I talked about where he's in the bathroom and she finds out and then he just grabs her and goes, please remember my face. Don't ever forget my face. Don't forget me when I'm gone. And that scene almost made me cry. He was so good in that. Like just,
Mm-hmm.
and then the final, the final scene where he's in bed talking to his daughter, laying next to her and showing the ring that was his grandparents' ring. And he gives the daughter the ring before he passes away in the night. And I was like, what are those rocks? I don't know. There must be something I'm missing there
Yeah.
because the other scenes that had nothing to do with that lady and her rocks were
Maybe
here.
it's like kind of those magnetic ones, where like if you throw it up in the air, they kind of come together and go, you know.
Wonder Twin powers activate.
Yeah, definitely Wonder Twin powers.
If you
Where's the monkey? Where's the
after
monkey?
after I die, if you put these rocks together, my spirit shall appear.
Yes, become Captain Planet. I don't know.
Yeah. So, no, I like some of those other scenes a little better. I think there's some. I think there was just too much put into the film, and it kind of made it sometimes feel a little aimless.
Hmm. And I think that might have been on purpose, saying how you do feel kind of aimless when you're dying, and even when you're trying to stay focused.
Yeah. And the ending also felt a little ambiguous because I think there was a point where like, he's looking at this shadow of a fork and the shadow didn't quite match up and I think like and then he sees himself on the ceiling because when he sees dead people, he sees him on the ceiling for some reason, which is kind of creepy. But I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to be creepy in this movie, but I'm like, why are they on the ceiling? Um
I don't know. Maybe it was just like The Conjuring.
right?
Yeah, it's just like some demons on the ceiling and they're crawling around, right?
Yeah, but but he sees himself on the ceiling, so it's like I don't know. Is that just an indication that he's about to go? Because then also the woman that he helps out is staying at his apartment, and then because he goes to live with his ex or with his wife again. But then he comes back when that doesn't work out, which is another thing we can talk about. But at the end, he's like, "Here, I've saved up a bunch of money. Here's a year's worth of rent." Well, she's like, "I'm going to go to Senegal to see my husband who was deported." And he's like, "Well, could you stay with my kids?" And, because I'm going to be dead. And well, she's like, "No, I'm going to go with them." And then at the end, it looks like she stayed, but then she changed her mind. But then he sees her silhouette and hears her say, "I'm back." But we're not really sure if he's just seeing things. So we don't even know if his kids are actually okay after this
Yeah,
movie's
and what
done.
if it was actually like Randy Quaid from Independence Day?
I'm back. But yeah, so I was like, well, that was one thing I didn't like about the ending. I was like, well, what about the kids? Like,
Hmm.
this is so ambiguous. I don't know if the kids are actually okay. Is everything that he tried to do for them, there's a scenario where it's possible that she actually took all the money and ran,
Hmm.
and we don't know. But yeah, it was just there's so much in this movie. It's nearly two. Well, was it what is like an hour and 40 minutes?
It's like, it's like this movie's 2.5 hours. So
Oh no, that was a movie I watched the next night. So
yeah,
yeah, it was a long movie and yeah, then there's the whole wife stuff where it's like trying to get back with her and have a mother for his kids, but she's abusive, she's bipolar, she's alcoholic, and she's screwing his wealthier older brother. And I again, that's another thing, another part of the storyline is just like, just give me him dying and trying to do the best for his children. Why do we need to have this story about a bipolar wife?
yeah, it almost feels like see for a while it almost seems like it's going towards like Jude the Obscure territory. Have you ever heard of that book?
I don't think so, no.
Well, Jude the Obscure is like a perfectly good guy, and then a bunch of terrible things happen to him. but like so many terrible things happen to him, it just goes so overboard with the terribleness that it starts becoming a comedy
Oh,
because like of course this is gonna happen to him.
yeah. Of of course the kid's gonna light up a cigarette and burn the mattress and
Yeah, exactly. Like of course the wife is gonna be terrible, and of course his job's gonna fall. Of course he's gonna be wanted by the cops for some reason.
well, because that was another thing. The wife is so terrible. It's like, well, if the lady did leave with the money, these kids are going to go to the mom, and we've already seen that she's just going to beat the son. Like she's already beat him. She went on a trip with the daughter and left the son at home because he wet the bed. It's just like,
Hmm.
well, that's terrible parenting. So yeah, this whole movie is supposed to be about him like seeking forgiveness and like trying to have like redemption for his life before death. And then at the end of the movie, all I'm going is, where are these kids going? What's going
Yeah.
to happen to them? Are they just going to get beat by the mother for the rest of their
Hmm.
lives? But yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about this movie. The cinematography was what it was. It felt very handheld.
Hmm.
And I think that like kind of gave it a just you're observing this life a little. I think that worked for this film.
Yeah, and it's not an action movie at all. So even that the handheld motion, a lot of it was pretty still. Shots held longer, so you could easily tell what was going on.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any other scenes that really stood out to me. Like I said, the couple of scenes with him and his daughter, and then just him with his kids at the dinner table. He was just a dad. Like even when he was mad at his kids, like it was you could tell there was still love there, and I think that's what really worked about his character is that
Hmm.
he had a even though he was technically a criminal, he genuinely cared about people. That's why he did what he did. So, definitely worth seeing his performance, but it
Definitely.
could have been shortened, could have had a few story elements taken out. But unless you have anything else you want to say about this film,
Not really. So I guess would you recommend this movie?
if you're one of those that likes to go look at people who've been nominated for stuff, it was a good performance. Other than that, I don't know. I've seen better movies than this. It's not a real high recommend. It was a good movie, but it just
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. This one just didn't quite do it for me for whatever reason. But yeah, if you like this director, if you like Javier Bardem, I'm sure it'd be interesting because once again, his performance really does anchor the entire film.
yeah. So I not a real high recommendation for me.
Hmm.
So what about what would you recommend watching with this?
Yeah, now we move on to double feature, where if we liked a movie, what do we watch with it? Or if we didn't like a movie, what do we watch instead? This one, I guess I'm gonna go for the easy one and say pick Birdman because it's both about men in some sort of crisis and they walk around a lot in a city. And
Yeah.
of course, what Birdman makes a difference is much more kind of metatextual with the whole thing about Michael Keaton, having cast Michael Keaton as an actor who was in a popular franchise who said no to like another entry in the franchise, and how that has affected his career, and trying to feel that like he's more of a legitimate actor than just like a guy known for this one thing.
And funnily enough, I love Michael Keaton and everything, so I don't know what
Mhm.
he's talking about. And now he's coming full circle and going to play Batman again.
Here we go again. So yeah, Michael Keaton and Birdman. I really liked Birdman.
I almost recommended that one. I think I'm actually going to. I had so much trouble coming up with something for this, so I'm actually going to recommend something I've never seen before,
Uh oh.
and I'm going to try and watch it before our next podcast.
Okay, you better
Um,
report back to me on this.
because it's one that I really should watch. I'm going to recommend Ikiru from Kurosawa.
I have seen this one, and yeah, that's a very much a good one. Yeah, Akira is interesting because it plays a lot with kind of the structure. This one was very straightforward. While Akiru has some of it is just take place kind of like in flashbacks and kind of more out of order.
Yeah, but it's also about a man who knows he's dying and just trying to find meaning in his life. And I am a fan of Kurosawa, and so I was like, well, I'm going to recommend this and actually recommend it to myself and go out and watch this one. I think it's streaming on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's definitely one of Kurosawa's best and probably his biggest tearjerker.
So I'm looking forward to that one. I'll try and report next time on what you're watching.
Oh yeah, you better.
All right, so let's close this out with seeing if we could get something little less of a downer.
Yeah, maybe, or we could get something even more of a downer. Who knows?
Who knows? We're going 70 or better and spinning the wheel.
It's like, oh no, it's Schindler's List.
Oh no, it's a documentary, so we're skipping that one.
Okay, skipping documentaries.
Spin again. Okay, so movie from 2001. Young hobbit Frodo Baggins, after inheriting a mysterious ring from his uncle Bilbo, must leave his home in order to keep it from falling into the hands of its evil creator. Along the way, a fellowship is formed to protect the ring bearer and make sure that the ring arrives at its final destination, Mount Doom, the only place where it can be destroyed.
Ah, clearly this is, of course, the classic film from that era, Phantom Menace.
Yes. One does not simply walk into the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yes, and Misa Frodo Baggins.
So you thought Biutiful was long. This one is a whopping 3 hours. Unless you watch...
so that we're doing the extended cut of the theatrical. That's a big one.
Well, I don't know which one it is. It's streaming on HBO Max.
Yeah, that is both versions.
Because aren't the extended ones like 4 hours?
They are longer, so I guess, up to our discretion. Which would you want to do for? I've never seen the extended. I know a lot of people love them.
Yes, I've actually recently watched the extended versions of all 3 of these. I'll watch I like to go with what's on the streaming service because that's what we're talking about for our podcast. So let's just go with what's on HBO Max.
Sounds good.
So I kind of did the same thing with Aliens because I had the opportunity to watch the director's cut, but that was not what was streaming. So anyway, we'll watch Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring for next time. And
until then, I'm Noah the Gray, and you can find me on Twitter at Noah_Saturn, it's spelled SATERN.
And I am at AwesomeKM. We are on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch, and you can email us we don't know to watch at gmail.com. And like, comment, all that fun stuff. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Tell us don't tell us you're dying of cancer.
Yeah.
And until next time, keep alive and watch more movies.
And I'm gonna help you, Mr. Frodo.
Frodo.
Potatoes.